Good evening and welcome to the Thursday, June 26, 2025 Select Board meeting. So I'd just like to announce that I changed the order of the agenda items to make it easier for our visitors who are here. So the first thing is our continuation of the public hearing to consider the application for the property at the London Family Limited Partnership located at 19 Mackinac Road. Roll call vote.
Aye, Chuck.
Aye, Jamie. And due to a lack of quorum, we will close the hearing. Can I have a motion to close the
Make
hearing?
a motion to close the hearing.
I second. All in favor?
Aye, Chuck.
Aye, Jamie. And thank you.
Yeah. So just so everybody's aware of what's happening, due to the fact that the public hearing, we did not have a quorum. In order to pass a special permit, we have to have 3 votes of a 3-member board. And because we didn't have 3 votes at the last meeting or at this meeting, we cannot take action on it. So failure of the board to take action creates what's called a constructive approval. So by failure of us to act, the permit is therefore granted as presented. So, and we will get the proper documentation to the applicants that's showing that it has been approved basically by default.
I'm just concerned, the decision will be filed as a constructive grant, and then there's a 20-day appeal period.
Yes, I believe so. I will confirm that with you. And that I didn't specifically ask that. It treats all the same, but it's just the approval is not by action by the board because without a quorum, they couldn't actually
Well, we thank you.
take action.
Thank you.
But I think the decision
Right.
needs to state that.
Yes.
So that.
And Donna said she'd work on the proper language for the constructive
Town council.
approval. Yeah.
You're welcome. Have a good summer. 2, the poll hearing, National Grid and Verizon relocating 2 JO poles on Mackinac Road. Roll call vote.
Aye, Chuck.
Aye, Jamie. Do I make a motion to accept or do we hear the
We
applicant?
should hear if there's anything the applicant wants to
Is there an
present.
applicant for Verizon or National Grid?
Hi, this is Donald. I'm the engineer. I am actually calling remotely. I'm just
Okay,
see if there's any questions. This is the purpose for relocating these poles is to provide service to the new property at 30A, or actually it's to refeed a house on that hill next to it.
So now if there's anybody anybody wants to speak for.
does anyone want to speak for or against the moving of these 2 poles? Seeing none, hearing none, we'll make a motion to accept.
I'll make a motion to accept.
I second. All in favor?
Aye, Chuck.
Aye, Jamie. All right, you're all set then, Donald. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So I'd like to take action on a 1-day alcohol license for Loretta Tenuta for an event at Berkshire Botanical Garden on June 28th. Can I have a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion to accept it.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, you may have your alcohol license. So now we're going to move on to meet, discuss, review with the Stockbridge Muncie Band of Mohicans, the town holding the conservation restriction on Fend Farm. Do you want to, Sharon? Okay, Sharon, would you like to begin?
She's trying to talk, but she's.
Can
There
you
you
hear
go.
me? Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
I wasn't sure how I actually ended up being on your agenda. I know that Patrick and I had discussed this, and I was contacted by Michael for this meeting. So I am sorry if you have a protocol that I haven't followed. I did not send any materials earlier when the tribe learned that it had to have this conservation restriction and that the conservation restriction had to be held by a government the tribal council agreed that they would prefer to have the town of Stockbridge hold that conservation restriction. I reached out to our tribal liaison, Sherry White, to find out how to approach the town. And she recommended that I contact Patrick White. And Patrick has been my contact. He sat in on some of the team's meetings with the state regarding the conservation restriction. But the bottom line is the tribal president sent an invitation or a request asking if the town would consider being the conservation restriction holder for this property. And that's what we're trying to find out, if the town accepts. And then if they do, with whom would the legal office and our team work in order to prepare the conservation restriction to have the state review it.
So I would say if the select board is agreeable to that, if you are agreeable to holding the conservation restriction, I can have them work with Donna Brewer from Harrington and Heap, our legal counsel, on developing it and then bringing it back for approval.
Okay, do we need to make a motion?
Yes, that you want to proceed with.
So I'll make a motion that we proceed, that Donna Brewer will get the right language for the town to hold the CR for Fen Farm. Anything else I need to add?
I don't think so, just
Okay.
authorize.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So I will send the information to you for the contact information for our legal counsel. And they are prepared to work with you on whatever you need as far as getting this in order.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you. And then the second one is the Stockbridge Muncie community will provide an update regarding the construction up at 2 Prospect Hill Road, AKA the Marians. Members of the Stockbridge Muncie community will lead the discussion along with the members of the Stockbridge Mohican Commission. All right, who wants to lead it?
I will.
Shannon?
Yes. Kolamasi, good evening, everyone. My name is Shannon Holsey. I serve as the president of the Stockbridge Muncie Band of Mohican Indians located here in Wisconsin, and it's a pleasure to be here. And thank you, Chairwoman, for affording me a few minutes just to give some brief updates to your select board with regards to the Marian Fathers Project. I will be brief, but I also acknowledge and thank Counselor Egan for his assistance in helping navigate some of this as well. I know it is a complex issue, as things always are, but tonight we really just wanted to take a very proactive approach in terms of strengthening our relationship and just sort of giving you some context to some of our concerns as it relates to cultural resources, specifically on construction projects within the town. And of course, highlighting perhaps some of the gaps in the notification and review process that occurred. But most importantly, just making sure that as we move forward in a proactive way, that we make sure that we put things in place to ensure that especially archaeological cultural resources would be considered to be included in the town's process. Obviously, archaeological projects such as the one we're discussing tonight are essential for both expanding knowledge and acknowledging the historical context of our nation and making sure that the sites contain, which we believe always do, contain important archaeological information that needs to be preserved and not erased. I will say that we have had ongoing discussions with representatives for the Marians and their counselor, Egan, and they have been robust and there has been cooperation. But I just really our intention tonight is really just to bring to surface some of the perhaps timeliness of communication and responses. And then certainly I will say this, that the Marians are the landowners, and in our humble opinion, it did seem that there were a number of elements outside their controlled fail of some of the projects associated with this, and the town, and of course our nation, and so I think most significantly is obviously the property its original location was that of the John Sargent House, or known as the Stockbridge Indian Mission House site. And the original structure was moved obviously to Main Street in the mid-20s, late 20s. But the original site location was that in Prospect Hills, which still continues to retain archaeological significance to our nation, and may also continue to possess relevant evidenced outbuildings and other features that would be of significant interest to us. I just for posterity, it was due in the association of Reverend Sargent, who was the first pastor and co-founder of Indiantown in 1736, along with our Mohican leaders. And it was a site of joint historical significance to both the town of Stockbridge and the tribe. So that's really, in a nutshell, what we're trying to accomplish is to bring some awareness and to provide some context and some suggestions of how, as we endeavor forward, making sure that there is some inclusion, because it has historic relevance and to us, but also it signifies our European and Mohican relationship from a political, economic, and religious perspective. We do have a historical preservation office, which works very closely with the town of Stockbridge, as well as often in tandem with governments to governments on consultation with regards to any ground disturbance projects as it relates to protection of cultural sites. And we have done, Bonnie Hartley is fantastic. She is one of our tribal members, as well as her team. And to date, they have done reviews of over 300 projects annually across our homelands, spanning 6 states. And so our goal really is tonight just to ask your consideration of making sure that as you endeavor, that there be adequate archaeological research and timely communication as it relates before any type of
Oops.
Lost you.
Uh-oh. Is that her?
I believe her internet,
Not over the phone.
her internet connection dropped.
No, we're not.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Hopefully she can rejoin. I'm just checking. But I think, the main question was that given the issues that we had are experiencing in the Marian Fathers project, I think it's something where the kind of expected checks and balances of the state system, the Mass Historical Commission, in this case, there's federal involvement through the EPA. These are kind of like the standard historic preservation checks that you would expect to have happen. Those kind of stopgap measures, in our view, failed in this case to protect the resource. And then in this case, there wasn't another town level involvement of a historic preservation viewpoint for the archaeological resources. And we really feel, as our president was saying, that there's extreme significance of the site that's intertwined of Mohican and Stockbridge, the town of Stockbridge history. So that's why the Stockbridge Mohican Commission wanted to kind of give some briefing on the issue, but then really look forward and think about how this could be prevented in the future. So is there something with the Article 12 or 23, for example, in the town that could be amended over the next year by next year's town meeting that could include better provisions to have a town level engagement in its own history and its own, cultural resources? So something where, this would also be reviewed by the town. I think it was reviewed by the Town Conservation Commission, for example, but that has a certain scope, and then it doesn't necessarily trigger, any kind of additional review for cultural resources. So thank you.
Anything? Is she done?
I-
Bonnie, are you done?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Welcome back.
Patrick has a hand up too, and then President Holsey is back.
My apologies. I guess my ancestors told me I was done speaking, so my apologies, but I'm quite sure our team conveyed that. But again, just I just wanted to convey our gratitude for the time afforded this evening, but just also an extension of just goodwill and wanting to continue to work collectively on these important endeavors. It is not lost on us the important relevance of how seriously you take these types of matters, as do we. And we want to find a good way to work collectively on these types of issues moving forward. Anishik.
Good.
Thank you. Rich?
Patrick White has his hand
I
up.
know. I saw, Rich, did you have something? Or Rich?
I'll let Patrick speak and then see what he said. See, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Patrick?
I just wanted to echo what Bonnie said. When referring to Article 12, that's the earth removal bylaw. And the thought would be to perhaps strengthen the archaeological review requirements, really to echo, in this case, the state and the federal government weren't as diligent as they could have been in following those federal laws, and to have a local set of eyes take a look at that. Article 23 is related to historic preservation and demolition delay in the general bylaws. So between those two of them, there's two practical opportunities to add a local review opportunity to this endeavor. And I would just encourage private landowners to take a look at both our local bylaws and the state and federal requirements, and to try to work together to preserve these places. I mean, the construction is within feet of the old mission house, and there's been a number of artifacts that have been found in the topsoil that was dug out, and this is of immense importance not only to the Mohegan community but to the town generally. This is our origin story in the Indian town. So thank you for your consideration and for taking a look at Article 12 and Article 23. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Rick, did you have anything? Rich, do you have anything?
I would just say, Rick, please, you want to say something? I would just say that what I think what we're really looking for is just having a proactive dialogue going forward to provide the town with its right to preserve its cultural history, both for the town, for the Stockbridge Mohegan community, or Stockbridge Muncie community. And really what Bonnie has said is really what we're looking to do, is just to create a system of checks and balances before any permits are issued, so that it's already in there for conservation, but historic and cultural should be taken into consideration too, just because this gives us the power to make decisions on not only the future of our town, but also the history of our town.
Thank you. Rick, did you want to share?
I don't think I can add anything to what everybody else already contributed, so we'd be really grateful for your help with this.
Thank you. And I think it is important, and moving forward, what are our next steps?
Well, just so the board's up to speed on what happened, because I know I've been in the meetings with the EPA, with the tribe, and with the commission members. Patrick was involved in these. There was definitely a fall down of permitting, and I think it would be great if we could find a way to be proactive to ensure that those permits were in place. What happened is that the Marians applied for a permit. They did the notification to the EPA. The tribe was asked if there were any concerns, which the tribal historic officer said, yes, there is. That should have triggered a visit by the Mass Historical Commission. That didn't happen, and the permit for the archaeological assessment was issued, allowing Marians to move forward. So there was definitely a mix-up there somewhere between the state and federal level on this project. So I think it would be good if we look at those two articles and see if there's any way that the town can bring some type of enforcement into whatever happens going forward, because we're not in that system. Now, some of that is looking at the laws and whether or not, just like the state building code, can we enforce it? So I've already reached out to town council, and we're going to be investigating that to see what can we do as far as bringing what enforcement to this level. And it's especially tricky, as Rich pointed out, because under the Dover Amendment, the Marian Fathers as religious has a lot of exemptions from. But we just want to make sure that, similar to what was spoken before, is that anytime there's digging happening anywhere in town, that through the town, we make sure to check with the tribal historical officer. And I know the town works on that, and we just need a way of enforcing
A
it.
way of putting it into the building permit process as a checkoff.
And that might be through the bylaw, and that's what, through the bylaw, have them check it, and whether or not.
Anybody doing a building permit.
Right, but whether or not we can or can't, like in the building code, you're allowed to have local enforcement of it. So we need to look at those elements and say, all right, I forget the exact anachronism of the permit that they received to proceed, because they basically said, yeah, you're all set, your plans to do whatever up there. And really, it shouldn't have been issued, and how can we help to ensure, I think, is key. So I would gladly work with representatives and go to even to some of the commission meetings of the Mohegan Commission and look at how we can bring a bylaw to next year's town meeting and what parts of that we can explore. So if the board wants me to pursue that, I can.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Denny?
President has raised her hand.
Danny, also Main Street. Yes, I'd like to remind the town that one of the articles which Patrick referred to, which is the earth removal bylaw, was changed after a previous serious removal by the Marians about 8 or 10 years ago. And if you look back at the bylaw, that bylaw was for a very small amount. The limit was for a very small, I think it was just a couple of truckloads that triggered the need for a permit for soil removal off a lot. And at that time, it was raised to 1,000 yards. And I think that the board might, and Mike might want to take a look back through the bylaw and understand a little bit more about the history of that particular change. Thank you.
President Halsey?
Thank you. I just wanted to extend our gratitude and certainly our willingness to work with you in a collective way. We have a lot of experience in terms of working with different agencies, townships, and states with regards to this. And so we might lend some of our subject matter expertise within our group and offer up. And I appreciated the last gentleman's comments about that. But I think the common theme or goal around this is just historic preservation for everyone. I think, understanding we don't want to complicate matters. They're enjoined and they're complex in a lot of different ways, but certainly we are willing to work collectively on this endeavor for future projects as it stands. So I just wanted to extend our gratitude and our willingness to work with you collectively.
Thank you. Carol?
Hi, I just was curious, who issued the permit?
EPA.
So okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Rich, anything else? Okay. All right. So I guess we'll do some more investigation and
I'll work through the group, the commission, and bring stuff back to the select board for consideration.
thank you. Sounds good. All right, Pines. Thank you all for coming. Pine Street. So we have Pine Street Court. It's discuss and review the status of the court and the agreement with Austin Rafe. Who's up for that?
Yes.
Hi.
Chauncey?
Hi.
Yeah, so I'm Chauncey Collins, work at Austin Riggs as COO and CFO. So should I just present what town are mine?
Sure.
So Riggs has an agreement with the town, a 99-year lease. We're 55 years into this, 1970. And at that time, Austin Riggs built the courts. And then at that time, the town agreed to maintain the courts. And as landlord in this agreement, we feel some sense of liability. The courts have been in disrepair for a number of years. It's like 3 years ago, we put some time into repairing the fence. And we understood the town was going to try to repair the courts at some point the following year. That hasn't happened. I know you've done some work here and so there might not be a need. So checking in on what the plan is, assuming the town is either going to abandon that or repair them.
So to walk through the timeline, 3 years ago, the town worked on fencing, putting up new fencing. We had contracted to redo both of the tennis courts at Pine Street and here. They did the one here, then they went over there and the contractor said the base is bad and therefore they would not warranty any work over there. It was going to cost us $56,000 and they weren't going to warranty the work because they said all the cracks are going to come back because the base itself is bad.
Like the foundation's bad.
Right. So about a year and a half ago, we got a quote of $215,000 to properly repair the tennis courts at Pine Street. And now the question is not only that, but also to fix we have to rebuild the base of the basketball court. So you're probably looking at close to $500,000 in order to restore the Pine Street courts altogether, everything that's over there. And that was a year and a half ago, prices at $215,000. So looking at that, began a discussion. We've only had a couple pieces, but basically we need to figure out what the need is. Now, I did ask some people, and Georgia, you might be able to help, a little historical information, but my understanding that at the time, way back before probably all of us back in the idea was that the courts were there for availability to be used during the school day when the school was in session because the stuff that was up here was not available to the general public. Because it is very unusual to have the same amenities one block away. You typically, when you're building recreational facilities, you build facilities on opposite sides of the town or the community in order to attract visitors. You don't often see where you have the really duplicate things within one block. And to be honest, both the basketball courts here and there are very seldom used. And ever since Monument Mountain put in, I believe it's 6 tennis courts up on their campus, our tennis courts aren't as used. Actually, last year we saw a lot more use when we lined them for pickleball. So what we need to do is we need to figure, because it's part of the downtown. It doesn't look great. We need to make some improvements. We do have a lease. Because it is a lease, legal counsel has determined that the control of the park falls to the Selectboard because it's not an owned park. So we need to figure out what our options are. And that can be all the way up to restoring the courts fully, going to town meeting and get appropriations to restore the basketball court, restore the tennis courts. And it could be the complete opposite, which would be removing the courts and returning it to a green space in our downtown and that, because it does lack bathroom facilities, parking and other stuff. But I think either way, I think Austin Riggs wants to see something there that looks proper for the location, whether it's removal, improvements. I know there was a concept, could we put like a walking path with passive recreation, like chess tables, cement chess tables or something in there, something different instead of mirroring what's here at Town Hall courts. So I don't know how Austin Riggs feels on.
Well, if I understand the agreement, the lease agreement, if the town doesn't maintain it, then the possession of the land, then it's void. The agreement is void, and the possession land comes back to Austin Riggs.
Right.
So although we don't have plans for anything, the idea of having more land as a resource is attractive.
And if we return it back to Austin Riggs, are we responsible to take up the basketball and tennis court?
I think it would be a good neighborly thing for us to do,
No, I'm.
which would be the removal of the asphalt and the rest.
Yes.
And then seeding and looming it so that it was returned to a grass space.
I think that's what the agreement states.
Yeah.
Likely it does.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm just clarity.
yeah,
I mean, we're willing to work with the town, of course.
yeah.
And does it, and would we decide on when or how or?
Well, I mean, part of it is, you know, I think that if, do you want to get any feedback? Should there be any thoughts? Because if so, we could potentially fix up the courts, but I don't know if that's,
It's a lot of
because
money.
I think Austin Riggs would be open to us if we restored them, but would want it done in a timely manner.
Yeah.
But it's an enormous amount of money when we already have,
Duplicate facilities.
and we
so
have
close.
the high school tennis courts.
My opinion would be financially, it's not feasible.
And they're not used.
And they haven't been used in years. Nobody's missing them. I wouldn't make the motion to.
No, I think we should have discussion. I'm sorry.
We're still talking.
This is too mature to jump in. We've only just heard about this and to now jump in and change a major feature of our downtown character with no discussion and no input from the people of the town, no consideration of our open space plan or recreation plan is premature. And I think this is improper.
Danny, we're still just talking.
What?
We're still just
I was
talking.
making a motion.
No, he didn't.
My opinion would be to take them out, put it back to grass, turn it back to Riggs.
Well, are you inviting comment?
We're still talking, and then we will open as we always do.
So one of the things that is being pointed out would be to see, right, do we want to see if there's some comment back? Is there something, would Austin Riggs be interested in us changing into a more, maybe an option of a passive recreation area instead of an active recreation? Like I said, if you ever look at like, you know, Boston, and when you go to where they have walking paths with chessboards and other things instead of duplicating the same facilities. What's that?
We'll be doing that out here.
Aren't we?
Depends on what happens. I think if we were to put something like that, you wouldn't do it here. Because what you wouldn't do is within so many feet of it. Because when you, like I said, when you really explore the design,
Parking there, there's no utilities, there,
Right.
bathrooms there's no.
but if you had passive recreation for walkers that they could just walk over, there'd be chessboards and other things. You know, I don't know if anybody's ever seen those, but they're cement ones that could stay out in the winter with cement stools on either side, and they're just a checkerboard, and you can get them with parts that are right attached to them, and then people can bring their own pieces down. It could be something like that, but I think we need to come up with a plan because the courts were in bad shape. When I got here during COVID, we started exploring how, and then we realized the bases were bad. Now we're at the point, it's really a complete redoing of that facility. And I think Austin Riggs would really like us to come up with a plan soon of what we're going to do and present it to them. If we're going to do anything other than create what's there, they have the final say, not us, and that. So it's a lease property, then it's theirs.
We don't own it.
We don't own
We don't
it.
own the property.
It's not town property.
It's not town property, but am I able to speak now?
You may.
Okay. Thank you. Apologize to the board for the interruption
No problem.
earlier. I think that the town of Stockbridge has a process whereby it evaluates what steps it takes going into the future for recreation, for a balance between what's needed to maintain the vitality of our downtown businesses, but also to have the kinds of recreation that young people are interested in. And some of us, not myself, are still active and enjoy tennis. And that's a particularly lovely spot. It's different from the place here, and there's a kind of magic to it, which is very Stockbridge, with the church nearby and Heaton Court up the hill, and it's surrounded by lawn and trees. And as someone who worked in activities at Austin Riggs, as I did, it was occasionally used by the patients themselves, and was one of those places where the mix could go back and forth, which is part of the hospitality that we offer as a town, not just to visitors, but to people who live on the outskirts of town who don't have a tennis court and might like that beautiful time in the evening when that court is so nice. I have a personal prejudice in that I taught my daughter to play tennis there when she was a small child, and she went on to be the assistant to the pro at the golf club, captain of the tennis team at Connecticut College, and a champion squash player. And my two granddaughters are champion squash players at Middlebury College. And it all started right there. So Stockbridge, this is one piece I would be reluctant to give up. Thank you.
Anyone?
Liz Wheeler?
Liz?
Hi, should Parks and Recs be brought in on this?
Parks and Rec could put an opinion, but because it's not town-owned property and it's leased to the selectmen. So the end decision would be the select board's decision, but they can be brought in.
I was gonna say, I understand that, but I think because they know the needs of, at least that's their focus, the needs of the town for Parks and Rec, that they might have some good ideas too.
Yeah. Okay, like I said, I think I understand what Denny's saying about the nostalgia of the park, but it does seem like we have an overabundance of tennis courts right now between the town hall and the high school. And we're gonna be adding a pickleball court to the court up here. So that creates, and I know when discussions have happened, the advantage to recreation here is that it's also has parking, bathrooms, and everything else, which makes this the ideal location for centralizing the town's recreational facilities. And it, like I said, it is, in my humble opinion, a little interesting that you have duplicate facilities, but I understand why it was done when it was done. I will say the lease lays out that other than restoring them to what's there, that's all that we're allowed to do there, unless Austin Riggs gives us permission, or Austin Riggs could say that we haven't maintained it and could end the lease with us right now. So it's not town property. So I think over the next, maybe invite back for the
July 10th.
Or maybe the one after that. And maybe between now and then, I'll try to get with the Park and Recreation Commission.
24th.
And then invite people, maybe we can get something in updates to get some feedback from people as far as their feelings about what the town should do as far as the Park Street facility, and then try to develop a plan. Pine Street, did I say? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Park Street's the Pine Street.
Clear, because we had mentioned to Austin Riggs we were going to repave it a few years ago. It's really up to us. If we are going to repave, we have to do it fairly within a more current
Do you have
time.
a timeframe
But
that,
that means we don't, $500,000 or more would have to go to town meeting. It's a
Yeah.
huge amount of money, so we couldn't even get the money until next July. Is that right? Am I
I
thinking?
think Austin Ridge right now is just looking for a commitment for us.
Right,
to-
but am I right?
or-
Like, we would have to
I don't
get,
want to speak for
I mean, again, as the landlord and the property is a little bit, it's not safe. It feels like, some people could go out there and play, but it's uneven. People could get hurt. And so we're concerned about that. And it's been like that for a while and we've been patient. So we just came forward to see what the plan is. And I understand the cost and
Yeah.
so if the town isn't going to, then
And part of it is when opportunities probably about 10 years ago were to fill the cracks in the rest. And it
It's
wasn't
beyond.
done. It got down into the base, breaking the base, which now anything we do on the surface
Won't help.
is basically you're throwing money away. It's only gonna last a year or two. And it's gonna start breaking again. So we have to restore the bases of the tennis court and the basketball courts. And once you get into that, that's where your foundation and everything else, the cost escalates from being at the time about a $50,000 improvement to now. And that was gonna be both the basketball court and the tennis court to now probably $500,000 plus.
Rich, did you?
I was just gonna say that even if it ultimately becomes a decision to demolish that, there's a cost
It still
associated.
costs money.
There's a cost associated with that that's not budgeted for, that we would still have to come up
Yeah.
with.
Right,
So potentially, we still would have to go.
the town.
Probably not.
no, there's.
I would argue that
Financial.
with our highway department, we could probably strip up the blacktop and pay a disposal cost for the blacktop. Lumen seating, you're talking
How much about?
thousands,
Oh.
not hundreds of thousands.
No, it wouldn't be hundreds of thousands, but I would venture to guess.
If we're doing it with our own labor, we're probably talking 10, 15,000,
Okay.
not potentially enough that we could
Still a
possibly
lot.
get it within our budget.
But
Still a lot.
Yeah.
as a finance committee member.
All right.
It's-
Kate, you're next, and then Denny.
Thank you, Jamie. Just a question, and perhaps I missed this, but I was curious as to, did Austin Riggs have thoughts about what they might do if the tennis courts were removed? And I'd be interested to hear what their thoughts are.
right now, we don't have any plans. 20 years or so ago, we did a master plan of the whole campus and we're revisiting that. As you know, we've done some building improvements. And as I said, we're revisiting that and looking at the activities program, which of course is on Main Street, what we call the shop, Lavender Door, which also, the activities program also includes the nursery school and the greenhouse, which are in the back of campus, kind of a little bit, both are relatively close to the tennis court. Both are also in disrepair, including the Lavender Door, which needs a little TLC. And we haven't really put money into the shop so much in recent years, a little bit, but it needs some attention. It's crowded. So we're focusing on the activities program and wanting to enhance those buildings. But the nursery school is not in great shape. It's in the wetlands. So we think about what could we do? What would we want to do? And the same with the greenhouse. So we have ideas, and the idea of having additional land is attractive should there be a need for it. But at this point, there's no plan.
Okay, Denny?
Yes. Is there a written agreement between Austin Riggs and the town on
Yes.
this? And where is it?
This is how fast it's gonna be. There you are.
Would I have a copy? But
No, this is my copy. I have it electronically, so there you go.
thank you.
And also here's you can also have the opinion from legal counsel on it.
Thank you.
Yep, there you go. So
So should we revisit this on
would that be all
our
right?
July 24th meeting? Is that
Yeah.
soon enough?
Yes, thank you.
All right, and I'll work on
Think
getting together something to present.
some numbers
Yeah.
or some.
And that, and I know there's the ATM for the original, still has some money left for redoing the court, but it's only like, there's not a lot left, but there might be enough if we just did a cleanup, to cover it through there. But I'll confirm all that for the 24th, where the money would come from, because I don't want finance committee people staring at me.
So July 24th?
July 24th.
Thank you.
All right, thank
Have a
you.
good weekend. So we're up to our annual appointment for 2026. So I'm going to change the order a little bit, just for ease of talking, because some are long. Two committees still have one opening. No one hasn't yet sent in an email for. The Green Community needs one member. The Pilot Committee needs one member. So if anyone's interested, please send in an email. And I had requested a few weeks ago, if anyone new would like to do service or contribute in any way, we would really appreciate it. So, the Agricultural and Forestry remain Matthew Boudreau and Lisa Bizzuto. The Berkshire Regional Planning Delegate Christine Rasmussen. Berkshire Regional Transit Rep Jamie Manassi. Board of Registers Jennifer Carmichael. Cable Advisory Anita Schwerner, Michael Canales. Cemetery Commission Peter Williams, Wendy Strothman. Conservation is Joe DeGeorgis, Sally Underwood Miller, and Karen Levy-Lutner, and William Ressateris. Council on Aging, Ronald Muir. Elderly and Disabled Tax Aid, Erica Olson, Helen McCormick, Elizabeth McCormick, Gary Pitney, Maria Carr, Tammy Tupons is the clerk. Fountain Committee, we have Kate Fletcher, Gigi Kingston has passed, Carl Sprague, and Robert Jones. Historic Preservation is two members, Gary Johnson and Peter Williams. Historical Commission, Linda Jackson, Marie Carr, Peter Williams, Tom Schuler, Georgia Marsden, John Bishop, Alan Hyman. Campusa Bog Stewardship, Matt Bedreau, Lisa Bizzuto, Sally Underwood Miller, William Ressateris, Louise Gadget, I always, so sorry. Stockbridge Bowl Stewardship, we have Jamie Manassi, Sally Underwood Miller, Michael Nathan, Gary Kleinerman, Don Shaban, Tom Finan, Louis Corman, Lori Richmond, Philip Cedar. Stockbridge Cultural Council, Ann Farrell, Audrey Sacknow, Joan Picard, Jeannie Bernard, Naomi Spatz, Wendy Strothman, Chris Farrow, Paul Sunderberg, Ingrid Robb, Zoning Board of Appeals, James Murray, Building Inspector Alternate Paul Green, Gas Inspector Jason Dion, Alternate Gas Inspector Robert Gennari, John Van Sant, Plumbing Inspector Jason Dion, Alternate Robert Gennari, John Van Sant, Wire Inspector Nick Bertzel, Alternate Henry Blanchard.
You want to read the Green Community appointments?
Oh,
You
did I miss
just
that?
announced the
Oh, I'm
openings, but you
sorry.
didn't read
Thank
or the
you.
pilot.
Jamie,
I'm not done.
Oh, I know you're not done, but there's something wrong with the cemetery one. So could we talk about that when you're done?
Okay.
Sure, if they think there's an error, we can correct it. Yeah.
Okay, hang on. Green committees, communities, Laura Dubester, Tim O'Brien, Miles Moffett, Steve Overbeck. Pilot Committee is Jay Pekowski and Tom Stokes. Both of those, the Green and Pilot, need one person. So I'm sorry, Karen, you said something about the cemetery commission?
Yeah, Pat Flynn is reapplied. And so she actually sent in a letter to you guys.
Did
And
she?
Peter's up,
Oh.
but I don't know, Wendy Strothman has never approached us, is not on our committee as far as
She's-
that.
No, she sent in an email because you had an opening.
We
Do you have an opening, Karen?
we actually don't have an opening because Pat was up this year and she sent in something. She sent in
When?
a letter saying she wants to be on it.
Oh dear.
All right.
Okay, I didn't see it. Did you see it?
No.
Okay, all right, we'll iron that one out.
Okay, great. Thank you.
No problem. Do you have it in that file? All right,
I'll search.
tree warden, we have Lisa Bizzuto. We have the Stockbridge Muncie Commission, we have Rick Wilcox, Rich Bradway, and Chucky Cardillo. Community Preservation, we have Hoke Roberts, Forbes, and Patty Kaya. Affordable Housing, we have Jan Ackerman, Bruce Albrecht, and Patrick White. And that's all we have to iron out the cemetery.
I make a motion, we accept all those except for the cemetery.
So I'll make an I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Kate Fletcher had her hand up, so I think.
Hey, did you have a question or is that old? Kate?
I'm sorry, that's old.
Okay, thanks.
I just lowered it. Sorry about that.
All right, Karen, we're still
What are
looking.
we looking for now?
Pat Flynn.
Well, why don't we do this one at the
We
next?
held that one.
How about if we just appoint Peter Williams for now? And then we'll come back with
Iron that out.
Pat or Wendy at our next meeting on the 10th.
Okay, July 10th. All right, so do I make a motion or do not?
Well, we needed a motion to appoint Peter Williams.
Okay, so I make a motion, we accept Peter Williams for the Cemetery Commission and we will revisit on July 10th the other open.
Yeah, I apologize, Karen. I can't find it, but we'll confirm that with Pat if she's still interested and then clear it up at our next meeting.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing it up.
Thank you, Karen. Any other business? Seeing none, can I have a motion to adjourn?
To adjourn.
A second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for all coming.